So, hello, my name is Rivka. Welcome to Monday night's OneShul's Torah together. We are going to be studying this week Parshat Korach, which means baldness, ice, hail, or frost, something like that, some sort of blight. It's the second word, but the first distinctive word in this section. It's the 38th weekly Torah portion. It's the fifth in the book of Numbers. We actually started with the book of Numbers a year ago when I started broadcasting this. So that was really great. Hi, welcome to the room. Please join in. Always remember, don't forget, you can jump in at any time with comments, questions, point out things I've missed. Please do. So, Korach is Numbers 16:1 through 18:32, and we have, thanks to Rambam, we have 5 positive and 4 negative commandments, but we're not going to get to those until chapter 18. So I think we're just going to start with 16, which is the most interesting one. Unfortunately, something's still wrong with my computer or something. We haven't quite figured it out. But I'm not able to use Ustream Producer right now. So you won't get any of my graphics that I prepared for tonight. So we'll do the best we can. So what do we have? Let's begin. Oh, I know what we were going to begin with. Brachos. For studying the Torah, you can find the particular one I'm going to use in our 5772 Siddur. It's on page 136 at the top for studying Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav la'asot b'davrei Torah. So we're ready to study Torah now. So let's begin with 16. Now Korah, son of Isar, son of Korath, son of Levi, betook himself among with Dathan and Abrim, sons of Elab, and On, sons of Peleth, descendants of Reuben, to rise up against Moses, together with 250 Israelites, chieftains of the community, chosen in the assembly, men of repute. Now, let me stop right there. And that's very interesting. It says, chieftains of the community, chosen in the assembly, men of repute. This is a really important idea to really pin down, is when something's repeated specifically 3 times, it's something that's really important. It's that whole thing that we've been talking about with 40 days and 40 years and so on and so forth. So, verse 3. They combined against Moses and Aaron and said to them, "You have gone too far, for all the community are holy, all of them, and the Eternal is in their midst. Why then do you rise yourselves above the Eternal's congregation?" When Moses heard this, he fell on his face. Then he spoke to Korah and all his company, saying, "Come morning, the Eternal will make known who is God's and who is holy's, and who and will grant him direct access. The one whom God has chosen will be granted access. Do this, you, Korah, and all your band, take 5 fire pans, and tomorrow put fire in them and lay incense on them before the Eternal. Then the man whom the Eternal chooses, he shall be the Holy One. You have gone too far, sons of Levi." Now let's stop right there. Let's talk about Korah a little. So, what is his line? Alright, tribe of Levi, Korath is his grandfather. He is the son of Issachar. And his cousin Elsaphon is born a little bit older than him, and so has a higher claim to being, there's a cat on my back, to being the one in charge. So it's such as the Midrash Tanhuma Korah 1 taught that Korah took issue with Moses in 16:1 because Moses had appointed back in Numbers Elsaphon, the son of Usul, as prince of the Kothanites. And Korah was, according to Exodus, son of the older brother, Issar, like I said, and thus had a claim to leadership over the original. So here's a guy who feels like he's been pushed out away from the group. He's not been given what he thought is his birthright. Now he's living in this same area, and I really wish I had my things, but Midrash teaches that Korah, Dathan, Abrim, and On all fell in together in their conspiracy in 6:1 because they lived near each other on the same side of the camp. Thus it teaches that the saying, "Woe to the wicked and woe to his neighbor." So, be wary of the whole group. Applies to Dathan and Abram because they are descendants of their cousins of him, and so they would be counted among Korah's inner circle, and they all would have lived on the south side of the tabernacle. So they all kind of grew up in the same neighborhood together in one big family. So they're probably going to go into the same lot. The descendants of Reuben, of course, lived in the next lot over, so they would have been just the same in the same group. Hi, Aaron. It's good to see you. So, what does this tell us? Well, why is it important that we look at it? We look at it because we live in a democracy, and in so we have, according to our Constitution, the right and obligation to rile against the government we think is corrupt. So what's going on here? Korah has been pushed aside. He's not amongst the government. He's taken offense to that. So he's come up on his own. Now Moses, what does Moses do? Moses basically calls, it says, well, then we'll do a recount. And it's the same thing that happens with the governors up in, Wisconsin. Have a general recall. The only thing is, the only one that's voting here is God. So they're all going to bring up their fire pans, and they're all going to basically go through the revote, and we'll see, well, of course we know, but we'll see who prevails amongst them. So verse 8. Moses said further to Korah, "Hear me, sons of Levi. It is not enough for you that the God of Israel has set you apart from the community of Israel and given you direct access to perform the duties of the Eternal's tabernacle and to minister to the community and serve them. Now that God has advanced you and all your fellow Levites with you, do you seek the priesthood too? Truly it is against the Eternal that you and all your company have banded together. For who is Aaron that you shall rail against him?" Moses sent for Dathan and Abiram, sons of Eliab. But they said, "We will not come. It is not enough that you brought us from a land flowing with milk and honey to have us die in the wilderness, that you would also lord it over us? Even if you had brought us to a land flowing with milk and honey and given us possessions of fields and vineyards, should you gouge out those men's eyes? We will not come." Moses was much aggrieved and he said to the Eternal, "Pay no regard to them. I have not taken the ass of any one of them, nor have I wronged any one of them." So what is he saying there? He's saying he sends out to the brothers and says, come in, let's talk about this. You don't really want to rebel. And they say, no, we're, you took us from our only home. Now we're out in the middle of nowhere in the wilderness. What are we going to do? Of course I'm going to want new leadership. So instead of staying the course. So they refuse to come. But Moses, ever the one bargaining for the people, says that he has done them no wrong and they have done him no wrong, and therefore they should be left out. 16. And Moses said to Korah, tomorrow you and all of your company appear before the Eternal, you and they and Aaron. Each of you take his fire pan and lay incense on it, and each of you bring his fire pan before the Eternal. 250 fire pans. You and Aaron also bring your fire pans. There we go, fire pans 3 times. Each of them took his fire pan, but put fire in it, laid incense on it, and took his place at the entrance of the tent of meeting, as did Moses and Aaron. Korah gathered the whole community against them at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Then the presence of the Eternal appeared to the whole community, and the Eternal One spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, stand back from the community that I may annihilate them in an instant. But they fell on their faces and said, O God, source of the breath of all flesh, when one person sins, will you be wrathful with the whole community? Here again, we have Moses ever saying there must be some sort of redemption in people, that should one sin or should the whole group go? It's just like we were talking about last week when he was when God threatened to annihilate all of the tribes and give Moses an even greater group. And Moses said, no, wait, if you do that, you'll hurt your reputation amongst the Egyptians and all other peoples. And even if you did bring a better group into it, you still have that blight upon you. So he's taking, it's not really blackmail, but he's taking something that would appeal to someone else, the idea of having strength and power by prevailing in your promise, and using that to plead on behalf of the people. He really does turn out to be a leader, even though he isn't one that is eloquent with words. He needs Aaron for that. He still is the one that is always looking out for the flock as if he were the shepherd. 23. The Eternal One spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the community and say, withdraw from about the abodes of Korach, Dathan, and Abiram. Moses rose and went to Dathan and Abiram, the elders of Israel following him. He addressed the community, saying, move away from the tents of these wicked men, and touch nothing that belongs to them, lest ye be wiped out from all their sins. So they withdrew from around the abodes of Korach, Dathan, and Abiram. Now Dathan and Abiram had come out, and they stood at the entrance of their tents, with their wives, their children, and their little ones. And Moses said, by this you shall know that it was the Eternal who sent me to do all these things, that they are not of my own devising. If these people's death is that of all humankind, if their lot is humankind's common fate, it was not the Eternal who sent me. But if the Eternal brings about something unheard of, so that the ground opens its mouth and swallows them up with all of that belongs to them, and they go down alive into Sheol, you shall know that these men have spurned the Eternal. Scarcely had he finished speaking all these words, when the ground under them burst asunder, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up with their households, all Korah's people and all their possessions. They went down alive into Sheol with all that belonged to them. The earth closed over them, and they vanished from the midst of the congregation. All Israel around them fled at their shrieks, for they said, the earth might swallow us. And a fire went forth from the Eternal and consumed the 250 men offering the incense. So that's chapter 16. And what are we getting out of this? Well, Moses says here that he's not coming out of malice. He's not coming to punish them. he's not coming because they railed against him. He's coming because the Eternal has prescribed that they be destroyed in order that the rest of the community survive. So he says, if you were to die, say you all died of poisoning, it could be blamed on me. But if something crazy happens, like the earth opening up and swallowing you up, then it couldn't have been me. It had to have been the Eternal One that had made the decision. And so that's where you get this whole line about it being a miracle for some reason. It's to get the same punishment factor without getting the blame factor. Which is an interesting way to deal with a large group dynamics. We only have 10 minutes left, so I'm going to go ahead and skip to chapter 18. Because that basically tells more of the story of Korach, but we want to get to our mitzvot, our commandments. So what do we have first? We have in 18:2, to guard the temple area. 18:3, no Levite must do another's work of either a Cohen or a Levite. 4, one who is not a Cohen must not serve in the sanctuary. 5, not to leave the temple unguarded. 18:15, to redeem the firstborn sons and give the money to a Cohen. 18:17, not to redeem the firstborn of a kosher domestic animal. 18:23, the Levites must work in the temple. 18:24, set aside a tithe each planting year and give it to a Levite. 18:26, a Levite must set aside a tenth of his tithe. So even the man who gets the tithe must set aside a tithe, which is an important lesson. So here we'll go with 18. The Eternal One said to Aaron, you and your sons and the ancestral house under your charge shall bear any guilt connected with the sanctuary. You and your sons alone shall bear any guilt connected with your priesthood. You shall also associate yourself with kinsmen of the tribe of Levi, your ancestral tribe, to be attached to you and to minister to you, while you and your sons under your charge are before the tent of the pact. They shall discharge their duties to you and to the tent as a whole, but they must not have contact with the furnishings of the shrine or with the altar, lest both they and you die. They shall be attached to you and discharge the duties of the tent of meeting, all the services of that tent, but no outsiders shall intrude upon you, as you discharge the duties connected with the shrine and the altar, that wrath may not again strike the Israelites. So here we have job description. Okay, here you go. You're not priests, and you railed against it. You said you're not enough part of the system, so now you can be part of the system. You're not the priests, but your most important job is to protect the rest of the flock by making sure they don't get into an area they're not supposed to be in, so that they don't go to the altar or whatever else without it either being the correct time or at all if it's forbidden for that particular object. Basically, you're the bodyguards of the temple, and in being the bodyguards of the temple, you're also the bodyguards of the flock against the dangers that can be inside and the wrath of the Eternal One. Verse 6. I hereby take your fellow Levite males from among the Israelites. They are assigned to you in dedication to the Eternal to do the work of the tent of meeting. While you and your sons shall be careful to perform your priestly duties in everything pertaining to the altar and to what is behind the curtain, I make your priesthood a service of dedication. Any outsider who encroaches shall be put to death. The Eternal One spoke further to Aaron, I hereby give you charge of my gifts, all the sacred donations of the Israelites. I grant them to you and to your sons as a prerequisite, a due for all time. This shall be yours from the most holy sacrifices, the offerings by fire, every such offering that they render to me as most holy sacrifices, namely every meal offering, purgation offering, and reparation offering of theirs shall belong to you and your sons. You shall partake of them as most sacred donations. Only males may eat them. You must treat them as consecrated. Now, here we have an interesting part, because here's the spoils that one gets for being in this particular group. The offerings, what's given on earth that the Eternal One couldn't consume. It says here that only males can partake of it. Of course, this later on is expanded in further books to say that also the female of the group. So basically, you get egalitarianism within this eventually, but at first it's only the males. Then it goes on in 11 and 12 to tell what other type of things might be given. For instance, verse 13, the first fruits of everything in their land, and they bring to the Eternal, shall be yours. Every one of your household who is pure may eat of them. Everything that has been prescribed in Israel shall be yours. The first male issue of the womb of every being, human or beast, that is offered to the Eternal shall be yours. But you shall have the male firstborn of human beings redeemed. You shall also have the firstlings of impure animals redeemed. Take as the redemption price from the age of 1 month up the money equivalent of 5 shekels by the sanctuary weight, which is 20 gerahs. But the firstlings of camel, sheep, or goats may not be redeemed. They are consecrated. You shall dash their blood against the altar and turn their fat into smoke as an offering by fire for pleasing odor to the Eternal. But their meat shall be yours. It shall be yours like the breast of elevation offering and like the right thigh. All sacred gifts that the Israelites set aside for the Eternal I give to you, to your sons, to the daughters that are with you, as due for all time. It shall be an everlasting covenant of salt before the Eternal for you and for your offspring as well. And the Eternal said to Aaron, you shall, however, have no territorial share among them, or own any portion in their midst. I am your portion and your share among the Israelites. So what is occurring here? Well, it's the trade-off. It's, for instance, if you work in the priesthood and you have your housing paid for, you don't have to pay taxes on the housing. But that means that you're probably not going to buy a house. So it's the same kind of idea. You get all this meat and whatnot, offerings, but you'll never get a portion of land. You'll always have to serve in this capacity. So it's a trade-off, but it's one of those sort of chosen things. Verse 21. And to the Levites I here give all the tithes in Israel as their share in return for the shares that they perform, the services that they perform, the services of the tent of meeting. Henceforth, Israelites shall not trespass on the tent of meeting, and thus incur guilt and die. Only Levites shall perform the services of the tent of meeting. Others would incur guilt. It is a law for all time throughout the ages. But they shall have no territorial share among the Israelites. For it is the tithes set aside by the Israelites as a gift to the Eternal that I give to the Levites as their share. Therefore I have said concerning them, they shall have no territorial share among the Israelites. Again, reiterating the same thing. I was thinking about this, and how does this really apply to us today? You don't get a land share, but you get a share from the community. And this is kind of the same situation that goes on with most rabbis in their system. They live off of what is their pay, what is given to them from the money that whoever they're working for raises. It's also the same for those who work in the Jewish nonprofit world, any nonprofit world in that case. So it's really interesting. You're not really building an equity like you would if you owned the land, but you're still doing good. You're still performing vital work, and you're still doing something that has been chosen. It's no longer a hereditary thing. Well, it is in some conservative groups. Not conservative, that's a bad word. I can only think of the word in German. More closed Ordnungs, more closed societies, where it may be passed down by blood like it has in the past. But today, of course, in the other parts of Judaism, it's quite changed. But the same basic idea is still there. And that's pretty much what concludes. There's one last really important thing. The last 3 lines. Say to them further, when you have removed the best parts from it, you Levites may consider it the same as the yield of threshing floor or vat. You and your households may eat it anywhere, for it is your recompense for your services in the tent of meeting. You will incur no guilt through it, once you have removed the best part from it. But you must not profane the sacred donations of the Israelites, lest you die. So, it says, we know you're going to have little bitty leftover pieces and parts that aren't as important, like parts of the animal that aren't as pleasing to taste. And when this occurs, anyone, anywhere in the house can use it for whatever they need to, but you have to have taken the best part as payment. So that pretty much concludes what we were going to talk about for this session. Thank you so much for coming. Let me know, do you like the new time? Do you want to go back to the old time? Do you have any new suggestions? Let me know. Email me, rivka@punktorah.org. If you have something you would like to donate, something you want to know more about PunkTorah or OneShul, or have any other great ideas, there's always Patrick to talk to too. Patrick@punktorah.org. Thank you so much for having me. I hope to see you again next week. Please let me know about the times and how this is working out for you, what you would like to see more of, what you would like to see less of, so on and so forth. Thank you so much. Have a good evening, and good night.